I promise you that Suzanne gave me this mic and I did not just steal it. She nodded. My name is Carrie Banks, as I mentioned earlier, and I work at the Brooklyn Public Library running their services for children and teens with disabilities. That's my day job, but my real passion is the American Library Association. And there's a lot going on there for librarians interested in supporting people with disabilities. And somebody mentioned earlier the Spectrum Scholarship. That is a scholarship from the American Library Association. And we also have a division, the Association for Specialized, Cooperative, and Government Library Agencies, pronounced ASLA. We just changed the name because we merged with another group, so I'm still a little shaky on that. And that's sort of in the American Library Association where people interested in disability issues where we congregate. We have discussion groups and groups on serving people who are blind, on serving people who are deaf, on consumer health librarianship, universal design, and all kinds of really great things like that. So if you are interested in this, I encourage you to look at that, to continue the conversation and in a more national forum would be really great. And but I particularly want to plug a program at our upcoming conference in New Orleans. Yay, New Orleans! Excuse me. I love just sitting on the banks of the Mississippi and watching it go by. It's just, there's nothing like it. But we have a program there called Nothing About Us Without Us. I'm one of the speakers of the program, but it's going to be talking about involving people with disabilities in planning library services for people with disabilities. So Marty Goddard from the university, the access manager from the San Francisco Public Library, will be speaking about staff training and incorporating people with disabilities in your staff training. I'll be talking about outreach and working with volunteers with disabilities, recruiting volunteers with disabilities into your library. And JJ Poinke, who was here last year, I met her here last year, she is a librarian with a disability, and she will be talking about how having a disability informs, much like our panel did earlier, having a disability informs her work in the library, even though she does not work in a disability area of her library. So it's going to be a really awesome presentation, worth getting up at 7:30 to be there by 8 on Saturday morning. But it's the first one to accomplish, it'll be nice and fresh. But if you want to, as I say, pursue this on a national level, please look at the American Library Association and ASLA. Thank you. And thank you so much, Suzanne.
Okay, and I owe the back of the room an apology. I guess my voice is not as loud as I'm always told I am. I'm deaf in one ear and half deaf in the other, so people always say to me, "You're talking too loud." I guess it didn't work. So real quick, all the PowerPoint presentations will be available through the website and
email.
Oh, we're actually going to email them to everyone this time? They'll be emailed and they'll be on the website later. All the videos of every presentation will be available on the website at some point after the conference, and videos of all the past forums are available on the website. And then I just mentioned briefly, just to catch up, there's a conference every April in Washington, D.C., the National Disability Summit, that is sponsored by the ARC of the United States and AUCD, the Association of University Centers for Disabilities. And this year, the focus of the discussion as people went to the Hill to speak with congressmen and senators was on disability rights being civil rights. And so there is a greater recognition that this is another part of the civil rights movement, that everybody deserves the same rights. And that's the position that many national organizations are taking now in their discussion. And then I just pulled a couple of pieces together to point out that the CDC several years ago discovered that parents typically report to their pediatricians concerns about their child's development several times before the child is formally diagnosed as having a developmental delay. The parents are typically told, that's normal, your child's just on the slower end of normal development before they do formal evaluations. And after Marinike mentioned the fact that's not surprising to those of us who study statistics, children of color are diagnosed significantly later than white children. I think we should all wonder if that means maybe the pediatricians don't hear parents of color as much as they hear white parents. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to the panel. And as we did for the last panel, I'll have them each just introduce themselves, and then this is a self-directed panel, so I get to sit down.
Okay, I'm Deb Sherrick from Greenup Township Public Library, Greenup, Illinois. And I'm Cathy Claybaugh from Toledo, Illinois, and I actually work through a network marketing company. It's Monet, an anti-aging hair care company, and you're going to see how that fits into what we're talking about.
My name is Julie Ozier, and I am a parent of 2 children that have diagnosis on the spectrum.
Hi, I'm Holly Jen from Skokie Public Library, just north of Chicago.
Hi, I'm Cathy Hoffman. I'm from Okina, Illinois Public Library.
I think we're going to go ahead and explain our journey of autism acceptance in Cumberland County through our PowerPoint. We will take turns among the 3 of us, and then we'll let you guys, if you don't mind. Well, first, just to tell you a little bit about Greenup. It's a rural area, 2,413 people in Greenup Township, and we are definitely an underserved population. There weren't resources for people with autism, and I'm going to leave it there and let Cathy take over how this group came to be.
Like I said, I actually do not have a personal family connection to autism, but in February 10th of 2017, I was in Monations United in Houston, Texas, and Lou Ordanetta got up and talked about gratitude, Monet gratitude, what we can do to bring the monies back into our communities to help out someone, because they always give to Wounded Warriors, to Habitat for Humanity, but they said, let's bring this monies back into our communities. So I came, it inspired me to think about something, and the one statement that just came on the board was, if all your prayers were answered, would they change the world or just yours? That resonated in me so much, and I got so excited. So when I got home, I was remembering, what could I do? What could I do? And I remembered Julie came into where I used to work and brought a blue light and asked me just to light it up for Autism Month in April and wear a puzzle pin. And that I remembered that. And so I just wrote this note to Monet Gratitude and asked Lou if she would consider buying autism equipment, because we had a new YMCA coming into our really small community, and I was wanting this, still know nothing about autism. I just asked this question and they accepted me. And I was like, oh no, now what do I do now? And exactly, and they said that all of my questions answered their criteria. Yes, they would back us, but it still had to be kept secret. So June the 2nd, I was having a glass of wine with Deb because we both do the Monet shampoo. So it was kind of funny how a bottle of shampoo can change your life. So I showed Deb this email I got from Monet, and she said, oh my goodness, I know exactly who you can contact. She said, Julie Ozier. And she said, I just came from a targeting autism training. You want to talk about that? Oh, that it was held in Effingham. And so I called Julie and I said, would you be a part of this if we can get this together? Absolutely, she said. So this is how, just like from bam to bam to bam, you know. And so August 4th, video conference with Monet with 19 other team members, and they told us to absolutely form a squad. So from that point, August 19th is the first time Julie and I met face-to-face in my house. We talked about focusing on creating a safe place for autism acceptance. In September 2017, we had a meeting at the library where Deb and Julie and I, here's Deb.
Well, when we were there, Cathy, whoops, I did something wrong there. Cathy showed us what gratitude actually entailed, and then we were discussing autism, and Cathy indicated that she really didn't know. And I said, well,
I had seen on our library listserv that there was an Autism Basic webinar, and I contacted then Susan Shearer to see if it were archived that we could watch it. And she replied the same day and said, yes, here's the link. And then I also inquired at that time about targeting autism, the grant that she had, and if in fact there was a way for a small rural library to come and become involved with it.
So that was it. And so September 22nd, I walked in and was speaking to my ex-boss and was telling him about starting an autism group. And he said, well, I'm on the YMCA group, the committee. He said, why don't I just get you a meeting with Tony Sparks, he is the Neal Foundation Center Director, and see if he will allow you to come into the YMCA. So September 29th, Julie and I met with Tony and Bob, and open arms. I mean, he said he wouldn't charge us at all to have our group coming in. They would have had to establish a group once they got moved to Toledo, Illinois, so they let us come in, and they're going to let us still have control over our squad once we get in there. So we're collaborating with the YMCA, with the City of Greenup, the Scotts Building Center, anything, trying to get that. And so then I won a trip to Vegas. And then, I know, it's hard to be me sometimes. You know? It was fun. But one of the things they had was this cool board where you had a fake spray paint. Have you ever done it? It's cool. So you sprayed, and everybody was putting on there, they wanted $1 million, they wanted a new Cadillac, they wanted this. I got up and I wrote Autism Acceptance in 2017. And this guy sitting there, he goes, it's about time somebody did want something for themselves. So that made, I was like, man, I got chills again. So it was pretty fun. So that's been, I didn't know it was my dream, and I know it's all God that is just pushing me in this right direction. And I'm so blessed to have this group right here. So then we had our first meeting with our squad, and then I surprised them with t-shirts. So Judy, you want to talk about that?
So once we realized that this was going to happen, we're going to go ahead and go through with this, and Cathy said, well, we need to form this squad. So I reached out to some individuals that I knew from being a part of this community and asked who would be interested in being a part of this. And what we really wanted to do was just provide resources for them, and we needed a team to do that. And so that's what we accomplished here. We got together. A lot of the parents it was a wonderful evening, because what happened is everyone started sharing their stories, sharing their history, and what their journey has been so far. And with that, we got to know each other a little better. There were some people that we didn't know. Not everyone knew everyone. So it was the beginning of this creation of our Autism Acceptance Group.
And at that time, I still hadn't met anyone with autism. I hadn't. And so October 10th, I went to the library to watch the webinar. And I was like, okay, I've got this. I can be calm, believe it or not. I can be calm, and I can talk, and I can be gentle with this. And from that, and then I thought, well, we have to have a place to meet. So I went to my church, while the YMCA is being built. It's brand new, they're groundbreaking. Went to my church, and absolutely, open arms. My church, Toledo Christian Church, allows us to come in the first Monday of every month. That's where we have our autism meets at. And so there's another collaboration with my church.
And the reason we can't have it at the library is because I said we are a small library. And so we have one meeting room that really isn't very large or accommodating for groups. So we needed to go outside of the library building itself, and the Christian church is a wonderful place to have it. On October 16th, then, we had our core group, our steering committee is what I found out we should be calling it after seeing Amanda's presentation. We met again, and it was during here that we decided we needed to kind of have a theme. How could we make this make sense to other people? And that's where we came upon the title, Opening Doors of Autism Acceptance in Cumberland County. Too many people are unaware of what autism characteristics are, and we felt that we needed to educate, and we needed to inform, and we needed to make this awareness in our community, and hopefully then get inclusion. So at any rate, at this meeting, when we met there, we were playing around with all the analogies that you can come up with the door, and so we decided that the library is the master key to opening these doors. Anyway, the group meets once a month, but it is at the church, but the library remains the hub for getting the planning and the paperwork and that kind of items taken care of. Another thing that on October 11th, Mary had responded to that email that I had originally sent to Susan. She had forwarded to Mary, and she gave me the information about attending targeting Train the Trainer event. It was held in Champaign. And she said that was great, that a rural library would be interested, and she hoped that I would be able to make it. And I did, and it was very, very helpful, and you'll see that later.
Then in October, we decided, or I sometimes don't get approval from anyone. I just kind of do it because I can. So I thought, well, we need to involve the Chamber of Commerce around our small community. So I know that our chiropractor is the president of our Chamber of Commerce. So I walked into the chiropractic office and he saw me and he kind of stands in a doorway. You know, I think he's going to ask, or I'm going to ask him, do you want to buy shampoo? And that wasn't it. And I said, Kyle, actually, we're starting an autism group in Cumberland County, and we would like to have a meeting with the chamber to just explain what we're doing. We're not asking for anything. We're just wanting to open some more doors and let people know that if they need the help, if they need the resources or anything like that, this is where we're meeting the first of every month. He came over, he sat down, and he warmly talked to me, and he gave me at least 30 minutes of each time. Explained he had a sister-in-law that's Down syndrome, and he was thrilled to death that we were doing this. So what we were doing, again, we're just growing a foundation of trust and another collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce and in there. So, yeah.
And so during the meeting, while we were there were several members on the Chamber of Commerce, and one of the members is involved in the Historical Society in our town. And she had told us about some folks that had come to visit the Historical Society. They were not from our area. And she said they were acting peculiar, and as we were talking about autism and trying to explain some of the characteristics and some behaviors you might see, she said that may have been what was going on there. So it really reaffirmed the idea that they aren't aware. And you know, I had talked to her previously a few years before about, she's also in charge of the ambulance service in the area, about getting trainings for them, and they did follow through with that. And so we're just trying to touch as many resources or as many places as we can and let everyone know about what autism is and how to recognize it and to be inclusive and accepting of it. Oh, my husband works for a major retailer, and we I guess we just want to talk about that a minute. He's a manager, and oftentimes in individuals that are maybe early teens or early 20s and they're going out and getting their jobs, and maybe this is their first job, and he's lived with autism in our family for so long, he is such a strong advocate for these young people that are in this business world. And he helps the other members of the management team to kind of understand, let's give them one task at a time and have them come back. And just uses all of those resources that he has or those experiences that he's had with his own children to kind of advocate for these young people as well.
Again, part of the email that I got from Mary, she told us about Autism Welcome Here grant, and so we decided to apply for that, and we submitted the grant, and we were denied, but that's okay, because during the process of writing out the answers, it asked us questions. What are your goals? What do you hope to do? You know, what's important? So in essence, it helped us establish our plan. It helped us determine where we wanted to be and how we were going to get there. So it wasn't time lost. Whoops, I keep turning it off. Okay, so back to this. So then November 2nd, Cathy came in and she had worked on the flyer. And so then we finessed it a little bit and we finally got it where we liked it. And Julie's going to read our actual mission statement because I think that bears repeating. I think that that tells you why we're doing what we're doing.
So I know a mission statement is probably supposed to be short and concise and very, ours is a little lengthy, but it does tell exactly what we want to do in our community. So we want to provide a safe and trusting, supportive environment that facilitates the sharing of information and experiences. We want to assist in building connections with others and to offer local educational opportunities. We want to promote community acceptance and support for individuals with different abilities and their families. Because we're such a rural community, those resources just are not available without driving 30, 40 an hour to get any of those things. And when you have a family, it's so hard to access that when you've got a child with a disability to say, okay, we're gonna load up the car and we're gonna go 40 minutes away tonight for this SID shop or for this social group. But we all did it because there weren't resources locally, and so that's what we want to provide in our own community. Shouldn't have passed that off. So every family has a story. We want to welcome you to ours. We met with the parents the first meeting, and when we did that, we thought, when we get together with these folks, we want to know what their needs are. So we composed a survey for them, and we wanted to know who we were going to be working with. So we asked if the people that were at our meeting, are you someone with autism? Do you have a family member? Do you have a sibling? Do you suspect you have someone that you know that might have autism? So we wanted to be very aware of who we were going to be assisting with what we were doing. We asked the age groups of who was going to be involved, if they had children on the spectrum, how old they might be, so we could kind of curtail our activities toward where we were at there. We also asked what kind of trainings they might be interested in, whether they were interested in IEP process. That's a huge thing for us. If we can't get those accommodations and those IEPs in place, then we're losing valuable time and where we can be working on skills they need. Future planning, mental health, executive functioning, all those types of things, or any other thing that they might want to write in. So it gave us a direction to go.
So then November 17th and 18th then was Train the Trainer workshop, and it was wonderful. I can't say how much I learned there. It was absolutely fabulous. One of the nice things is at the end of it, they had us write down goals. What do you hope to accomplish from having been here? My 3 goals, the first was to complete signage for autism, or people with autism. And then the second was to complete the grant. And the third was to complete a reading zone, a safe zone. And so 2 of those were completed. And I'm happy about that. The other thing, the materials, if you can see over here, those 3 handouts that I received, I had a lady come in and she is a superintendent of a church in Hidalgo, which is another small community, and she had seen our flyer out in the foyer. And she said, do you have anything that could help a grandmother in my church? She had her grandson with her, and he has autism, and he kept coming up by the podium and messing with the flag. And the grandmother was getting more and more angry or angrier because he wouldn't come down. And so she ended up physically taking him out. He had a meltdown, and it was just an ugly scene. And so she said, do you have anything that I could give to her that would help? I said, I do. So I went and made copies of these 3 that tell you tips on how to talk, how to communicate, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And she was so tickled, and she said, could I have another set, please? Because I can't make copies. Sure. So I made another copy. So a couple weeks later, she comes back, and another patron was there, and he was asking for information. She said, ask her, just go right ahead, she'll know, she had it for me. You know, it was confirmation that we're there for them, and it was wonderful.
And then the fun begins. On December 4th, we had our first meet with our kids and their siblings. And so I've got a lot of art background, so I know how to color and things like that and have a fun time. So I decided we would do a paint the puzzle piece Christmas ornament with the kids and the sibs. And these kids, when they walked in, this is the first time I had met them, they were shy, they were a little standoffish. Before long, Dylan was saying, can I come every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday? He didn't want to leave. It was like, aw. And, you know, then they got home and these puzzle pieces is what they'd made, and they wanted to put it on the tree, and they sent me a picture of their little puzzle pieces they had done. So, and that's our squad now. We're up to 16 squad members now. So that's not everybody, but there we are in our little Money Gratitude shirts, so. Yes?
I'm kind of interjecting here. And with that picture, we talked about, I think, one of the panelists talked about having people that are invested in this. And all of those people that you see up there, they have children, they have a direct connection to someone with autism. So they're very invested in what's happening in this organization.
So then Mary came and visited us. Yeah, thank you. And we told her what we were doing, and Julie explained the surveys and the responses, and of course I talked to her about where we were with the grant, and Mary praised us, and a little praise goes a long way in my book. And so I kind of think it gave us the impetus to keep going. And then in December, I purchased the books that she had recommended, both there and from the training that we had. She also then sent different emails to me of resources that were possibilities for us to access, and then I would forward those on to Julie and to Cathy so they could disseminate those to people as well.
Then the end of December, I decided what are we going to do for January. So I needed to be a lot more organized. So a lot of our squad members, 3 or 4 of our squad members met at a local restaurant, and we planned out the rest of the year until the YMCA opened up. So what it's showing is like, I have to do it by theme. So we're doing this theme and how much money I think it's going to cost and things like that. And then we can go from there. We can know what supplies we would need and things like that. So then January 8th is our superheroes theme party with a photo booth and an inflatable slide. And the kids had a ball, and our church is huge, so we were able to put this huge Superman inflatable thing right inside the church. It was so much fun, and Zach, both sides, there we go. Zach is our 16-year-old, and he had told me, I have too many baby things there. You know, he's like, I'm not into this. I'm not having fun. Look at that smile. He said, this is the coolest thing ever. You know, and then he said, I was getting ready to come here today, and he always likes to tuck his boots in his pants. And he said, I don't have to worry about being judged. I can wear my boots, or my pants and my boots. And he actually brought his stuffed animal, which he has never taken out of his house, but he said, I was coming to a safe place. And so that was just so touching to me. It's like, and boy, can he hug. It was a good hug,
So then we received an email requesting us to come, and so we agreed. And so here we are.
Until we're new at this. And then January 23rd, our YMCA Neal Foundation Center that's getting ready to open up in Greenup was having a public meeting at our Cumberland High School, and they invited us to set up a table. So we had a lot of information there with our brochures, a lot of things from the library to show people the hours of the library where they can go in, the books available to be checked out, and just had it was amazing. All the people coming through, they're like, oh really, you started this? So it's another collaboration with all the community members. So, Then I got some funding. I got some money, so I just bopped into to the bank and I said, I need to open a checking account. And they said, not without a 501c3. I go backwards. So they said, don't worry. You know, they saw I had money to deposit. Don't worry, we'll get this taken care of. So they sent me to another town. But there was another First Neighbor Bank, and they had an accountant there, Andrea, free services. Again, she offered the free service. So she filed our 501c3. She said, okay, I need a check for $275. Okay, so I wrote it on my checking account, personal checking account. And then because of that, we had to file incorporate with the state of Illinois. That's $50. Okay. So I wrote another check for $50 out of my checking account. Then I had to open a checking account. So then she said, well, now you need officers. I'm like, oh my goodness. Okay. So I texted Julie and Deb. I said, Julie, you want to be president? Deb, you want to be vice president? And I'll be secretary treasurer, because they said the secretary treasurer usually does the most work. Okay. So you can, I mean, that's just how. And it worked. It worked. We did have a couple of things that we were turned down a couple times, but it was only just some wording. And Deb helped me fix that. But it has. But another door opened. It's like, okay, now we're a 501c3. We're incorporated in the state of Illinois. So, and then again, now we're back to February the 5th. Be my Valentine. And this one, I wanted to surprise the parents. I wanted the parents to have a special time. And so we have a conference room in church where I had white linens out and I had roses and I had special cookies made, and they had a guest speaker to come in and just talk to them about my wording is, how do I love you and still go home to this at times? And while we kept the kids back in the art room and did a surprise gift for them when they came out. And so Julie can talk about the speaker and...
So as parents, sometimes just this journey, you get exhausted. You just get mentally exhausted, you get physically exhausted. And so what this was about teaching us or talking to us about how we can keep ourselves mentally healthy and strong enough to go and fight these battles that we're going to fight for our children. And it was a really wonderful experience just to, this was what, our third meeting? Third meeting. And so we heard a lot of stories about the parents shared a lot of stories about what their journey's been like. And it was just a wonderful experience to bond with them and to hear their stories and to say, yes, we experienced that too. And it just solidified that fact that this is very much needed here. And the speaker was wonderful, and she came down from a mental health clinic and, you know, just helped us kind of think about how we can keep ourselves strong.
So now, since we were officially a 501 or C3 organization, we needed to get more money. And so we met at the library to assemble the donor packets. And, you know, art items, craft items, all of that adds up, and Cathy was footing the bill for all of it. So it was time to get busy and solicit money.
On March 3rd, Monet Gratitude, Monet, our local team, has a thing called Super Saturday. And because we had started this autism group that kind of stemmed around Monet, but they've kind of gone in the background, they had everyone donate an arts and craft for our group, and they dedicated that meet to our autism acceptance in Cumberland County. And we thought we would maybe get 10 or 12 crayons. You guys, I had 800 crayons, probably 300 glue sticks, tubs and tubs and tubs of items. We were just overwhelmed with the gratitude that everyone that came in, there was over 150, they all brought everything on the list, one of each thing. It was just so rewarding, and I spoke and Julie spoke, and it was just wonderful. So then on our March 5th meet with the kids, it was just supposed to be a movie night, you know, kind of a quiet night. Well, we decided to go live on Facebook and have all the kids organized all of the craft items that was given to us from this group. And they had a ball. To organize crayons, markers, and everything like that was a lot of fun. And then, and at this when the adults talked about, let's make a huge puzzle. And that's what our donors will be painted on each puzzle piece, and we will distribute it, show it around town and things like that. Well, I know you guys don't know Tim Yoga, my guy, but it's not going to be a little puzzle. He made a 12-foot by 8-foot puzzle. Each of these pieces are 14 or 16 by 16. The individual piece is heavy, but there's 54 puzzle pieces. As of today, we only have 7 that haven't been sold. So so the community involvement is just amazing, and they're actually put on our float that's going to be in the parade Saturday. So, and then, we met with the Toledo volunteers. We asked to go meet at that. So Julie and I went and met there, and I'll let Julie talk more.
So with this small community that we have, there's a lot of overlap. So when I say that, I guess I'm talking about people and the hats they wear, I guess. We have the members of the Toledo Volunteers that used to be the Toledo Kiwanis. So they now, we talked. They knew we were there to solicit for money, but they were very welcoming, and they listened to us talk about our kids and what our mission was, what we wanted to try to do. And one of the gentlemen that was there was a school psychologist, and he has retired several years ago, and he kind of talked with us about what autism looked like back when he was working and how they kind of approached it. And it was interesting to listen to him talk and how different and how far we have come, but as we've all said today, how much farther we want to go. We also had another member that has a daughter who is a special ed teacher in our school district, and so he shared some information about his experience and what his daughter experiences with the children. And it was wonderful to know that some of these individuals know something about autism, so they are going to be an advocate for us now too. They're going to be able to go into our community or talk with one's a banker, one's retired, they're very active in the community, so they're going to be able to share this information with the other people in our community just by us being there, and they're there to support us. And they were one of our biggest contributors.
2 days later, Tom calls me and he says, I got a check for you. Awesome. So we met at the newspaper, and I went Facebook Live again because I'm trying to get this word out to everyone. And he presented a check for $250, and we were so humbled. So a picture on the front page of the newspaper, and so that's another door opened.
And at the end of the meeting, there was another group there, and they are involved with the University of Illinois Extension, and they work with, it's a 4-H group, and they wanted to be a part of what we're doing. And so they reached out, and so we're going to collaborate with them. They're going to come and have a petting zoo for us one day this summer while we have an event. So we're really trying to touch as many people in our community so that they understand, they get to see our kids out in the community, they get to be a part of working with them and just seeing who they are and their abilities.
So we met again at the library to make our presentation for this forum, and then I had to show my reading barn that I had just recently completed, and of course then that's just a shot of us there working. So
For our April meeting, we decided it could only be adults because we had a lot of planning to do because of our floats. We needed ribbons made because and then donation packets turned in, things like that. But the Toledo Masonic Lodge had agreed to do a fundraiser breakfast for us. So we invited them to come to tell us how much money we needed to help out with this fundraiser breakfast. And it was held just May the 12th, this last Saturday. Things really snowballed fast with this group. And they came to tell us that we didn't have to put up any money. They had all the funding for us. Everything that we made was total profit for us. So the breakfast itself brought $1,187. Wow. Yeah, I know, right? And then we had a silent auction, so that brought in $480. $13 in, I am the secretary, right? $13 in cookie sales. We're just humbled. We're just so humbled, but all the people that showed up for this breakfast, so all of that's profit. Now we'll know next year we'll have to pay some of that out of there, but.
So when the Masons came to talk to us about this breakfast, we discovered at the end of the meeting that they all or a large percentage of them, I shouldn't say all because I don't know all the people involved, but all of them that were at the meeting that we held that came to talk to us about it had a connection to autism. So we're finding that there are more people in our community that we even maybe we're aware of that have a connection to it, which is wonderful.
And then April 7th, does your town do window painting for autism? Or our sure do. Look at it, you can see everybody going around. We painted a lot of different windows, that was freezing cold. It was freezing. Zach is adorable painting there. Him and I went Facebook Live. It was at the library. We're right at the library. He's painted that.
So when I was, again, making that reading barn, one of my former patrons, she has since moved to Charleston, she had called and she was chit-chatting and she said, "What are you doing? You sound kind of giddy." I said, "I'm putting the finishing touches on my reading barn." And I said, I hope that people will actually use it. And she said, you know, she was from Tennessee originally, and so she has a little bit of a twang, and she said, you know, I think you all need one of those weighted blankets. I have a friend who makes those. And I said, you do? And she said, yeah. I said, well, do you know what they cost? And she's like, yeah, but I'm going to donate it. And I said, well, if you donate it, then I'll donate one. So anyway, we got 2 blankets, weighted blankets. And then Julie she's at a school system, and she had gotten these books. And so she donated those from the Autism Acceptance Group to the library so that we can have materials for the younger people, because most of the things that I have are for parents. You know, how to or what to or why or stuff. I don't really have materials for the younger people. So I was very, very pleased to get that donation as well.
On April 26th, our local grade school track meet, they had a Tri-County track meet, they actually dedicated it to us. So we provided ribbon pins for all of them to wear. So I put a picture on Facebook. Without getting anyone's approval, I got a hold of CI Living, Channel 3 News in Champaign, and asked if they would come and feature us. They said yes. So then I had to call the principal and I said, hey, is this okay if we have the TV station at the track meet? Because we're going to have 100 balloon release and everything. I know I go backwards. She goes, absolutely perfect. And she shared it on Facebook. And it's like, so that's a good thing to get the schools involved with helping us out. But the other, those are some of the puzzle pieces we're painting for the float. But yeah, the dedication. Okay.
So we had the event, we had our balloon release, we had our principal did speak on that, and all the kids were there. It was just an amazing event to see so many people. Our mayor of our town came, several community members came and helped us blow up those balloons, and it was amazing whenever the principal started speaking over the loudspeaker, all the kids started coming over because they knew we were doing this balloon race. They all wanted a balloon to let go. And so it was just wonderful to see that they were all coming. And we reached beyond Cumberland County then, because we had kids from Clark County and Coles County and Effingham County, and so it just felt so rewarding to know that all these children were here and they're all getting touched by it a little bit. So the next time they hear about it, maybe they'll learn a little more about it, and maybe they'll say, hey, I know someone or maybe that's what I'm seeing here. So just an awareness. That's our beginning.
And on Monday, CI Living, we were televised. So if you just go to www.ciliving.tv, you can watch our feature that he did, and it was absolutely beautiful. So. And now coming up this weekend is our Toledo Spring Fest. We had a lady make us a quilt. The quilt has already brought in over $720 in proceeds for us. We've got t-shirts to wear in the float. We got a big float going on. It's amazing. It's so much fun. But just from November of last year till today, you guys, look what's happening. And these are the families we're impacting.
Nope.
Just the last slide, Suzanne. Just do the last slide. Yeah. These are the families we're impacting. These are all the kids. So if all your prayers were answered, would they change the world or just change yours? Thank you.
Okay, whoa, sorry guys. I just woke everybody up that nodded off. You guys could just do the mic drop, because that was amazing. It was reminding me of Amy Krauss Rosenthal, Yes Day book, because I don't know if you guys know that picture book, but what if one day the answer to every question was yes? You know, and from a children's perspective, it would look different, but that's what I was thinking. Like, when you went to the bank, I thought you were going to say, and then they said, we're going to match the money that you're putting into the bank. That's the only part that was missing. Okay. Well, we'll make a switch. Again, my name is Holly Jen. I work at Skokie Public Library up in the metropolis of the Chicago area, and so I'm going to start out by confessing my wrong theory of mind. That's a new concept to me, so I'm sure I'm misusing it right now. But I have like the suburban library theory of mind. So it was such a pleasure to hear the way you kicked butt on that. Like, it is so darn impressive. So I'm gonna go really, really quick and tell you about a network that we have up in Chicago. It's called Special Needs and Inclusive Library Services. So while I work as a community engagement supervisor at Skokie Public Library, where I've been working for 18 plus years, the last few years I've been really excited to co-facilitate this networking group to get librarians together to continue to share and to learn how we can serve people with disabilities better. So I am not an expert. I mean, I have a cousin with Down syndrome, and I have another cousin who's deaf, but I don't have, other than the patrons at the library, and I also don't have children of my own, but other than the patrons at the library, I am actually not that close to somebody with autism. At Skokie, we just realized that we had a lot of special education classes and teachers bringing their kids in, and we were totally inequipped and just unfamiliar with how to approach serving their students well. So the way that I got started was by writing a grant, co-writing a grant with our special education district. It was an LSTA grant back in 2004. And everything I've learned either through partnership with that special education district or with somebody else who's gone before me. So I'll try to make this really quick. And I've got the clicker here, so let's see if I know how to use it. Great. I thought that I should have an agenda because I also tend to talk a lot and fast, and agendas and visual schedules are part of, they're tools that we use for serving people on the spectrum or anybody, really, it helps. when we're doing our programs at Skokie Library, so I thought I better have an agenda. What I hope to cover in a really quick amount of time is how our networking group got started, what the structure of our meetings look like, how we keep in touch and share ideas outside of those meeting times, what members say about snails, and if you need to talk to a couple, there's at least 2 at that third table right there. Raise your hand, snails members. Nancy, there you go. And then we'll finish off with what the future might hold. So, gotta get used to the delay, I'm sorry. Slow down, huh? Okay. So, as I mentioned, I got started with working with people with disabilities at Skokie Library in 2004. And we received training on autism, early intervention, and maybe story time modifications. And we bought new technology, BoardMaker software, assistive technology, and we hired outside performers with the idea that we would have a really inclusive audience, or maybe sometimes specifically just for kids in the special education classes, and we improved our collection. A few years later, Renee Grassi came along, and many of you probably know her. She was on the board of Targeting Autism and is a nationally recognized speaker on serving people with disabilities now. She was at a nearby library in Deerfield, and she partnered with her special education district, and about that time, Barbara Clipper and others were talking about sensory story time, and Renee just took it and ran with it. And then she started coaching others in our area and invited them to come visit her, and she really empowered them and reminded everybody that we don't have to be experts, we just have to be willing to, love the kids, and we could use the tools that we already have as children's librarians to make inclusive communities. So she got a lot going, and I think she had some therapy animals participating in library programs, and after a few years of her and I sharing at state conferences or local conferences, we started talking about how wouldn't it be great if instead of having to go to a conference or give you a phone call and hope that we have time to talk with other people who are starting on that journey, we could just have something in place that's happening regularly. So in 2013, we finally sat down at Jason's Deli, to be exact, to map out our plan and our mission and our name. So we decided to go with SNAILS, and it stands for Special Needs and Inclusive Library Services. We got the word out by, I think there might have been an old North Suburban library system, or no, it would have been a new Rails library system youth services Google group, just to pull people together. And then we developed a survey to find out what they would want to learn and talk about. So our purpose is really long, but in just highlighting it, it's a Chicago area networking group where we can support one another. At that time, we were really focusing on specialized services. So of course, our people of all abilities are welcome to our full schedule of programs, but what we found is many families with young children, and actually of all ages, sometimes feel like the first step into the library is something that's already planned with their children in mind, so they don't have to make that phone call and ask for accommodations. And we were not experienced in designing those, and so that's 5 years ago where we started. Our meetings and blogs are forums to exchange ideas, learn, advocate, and inspire one another. And we're just really committed to inclusivity. So this is a map of the 60+ libraries who have expressed interest in attending a meeting, have attended a meeting, or are maybe on our email distribution list. We choose our meetings geographically to try to hit the northwest, south, and center of the Chicagoland area. And what else would I say about that? Oh, it says right there, from Antioch to the north, which is practically Wisconsin, to Crete in the south, and Elburn is the most westernmost blue marker, and then that little, the lake, I said to the lake, but actually that one lone blue marker is probably Harold Washington Library Center for Chicago Public Library. We meet 4 times a year, and for about 3 hours, and this is a schedule or an agenda for our meetings. I'm ashamed that I forgot the most important one, which is the meet and greet in the morning. We ask the host library to provide treats, and if they can't, I always say, if you can't, I'll bring them. Because we have decided not to go down that 501c3. Yeah, I'm on the Condo Association board, and I'm just, no more bylaws for me. Maybe someday. So thankfully we haven't had a need for funds yet. The libraries are well resourced in the Chicago area, and we've found really fortunate to find partners who are willing to work with us. So we hang out in the morning with treats, and we catch up and we build relationships. And then we usually do a business and sharing portion, with just announcements like targeting autism, registration is open, or did you see this new book? I know that Temple Grandin's book is coming out today, and she's going to be at Skokie Library 2 nights ago, which was awesome. And Cheers and Challenges is just an opportunity. We don't always go round robin to everybody, but we can say, have you tried something new? Does anybody want to just celebrate? Or are you stumped on a question? Like, is there a roadblock that we can help you through? And then we have a guest speaker that could be a therapist, a disability rights advocate. Sometimes we call a formal organization like Great Lakes ADA. Most of the time I just ask the host library if they're partnering with an agency or individual who they think would really bring some information that could help us understand disability, the disability community, because it's not just autism, better, and we've learned so much. And then we give the host library a chance to strut their stuff. So here's just a few topics that might or have been covered in our sharing portion. You know, librarians just love to learn, and just as much they love to share. So it's really been a great opportunity to learn what people are already doing and what works. And I had one snails member tell me that everything she brings back from snails is tried and true, and really feels like she was able to develop new services and programs at her library because of how snails helped. Our speakers, a range of topics listed there. Our most recent one is, this is Beth Speaker Christensen. She was specializes in augmentative communication. So it was really neat, not just to learn some of the devices, but to learn about language development. And I felt like I left believing that the next time one of our kids comes in with a brand new communication board that mom and dad don't know how to use yet, I might actually be able to help them take the first step, or at least how I can help them help their child use that board like at least one time during that program. So just having an understanding. I'm sorry, I'm just taking a quick browse on other things I might want to mention in the short amount of time. I wrote person first language, which is mentioned earlier today, is not always the preferred way to speak of someone with a disability. That should say disabilities awareness instead. Person first language is something that JJ Henley from JJ's List in the North Suburban area talks very much in her disabilities awareness program. Well, you'll see there's just a variety of things here. Universal design is something that we want to really lean towards. As I mentioned, we start out with specific programming, but how now can we start broadening what we're learning to apply to people of all abilities and backgrounds and ages. And then host libraries. I apologize, Josh is here. This is a picture from his library. It didn't fit in the template of the slide, but I wanted to include it. Sometimes you're walking around a library, whether it's a brand new redesign or not, you'll find something that just makes you go, oh, look, that's a really nice nook that all kids, and maybe kids on the autism specifically, but all children would love to go in and out of and maybe curl up in. And additionally, there is a Chinese dragon, because this was, I believe, in February around the Chinese New Year, created out of various craft supplies, so it's very much a tactile, like multi-sensory thing. And I just love that. Like, you can work that into your library and anybody's going to be interested in it, and kids can just discover this really neat thing. So I have wobbly chairs there. Just thinking of like the busy bottoms that don't stop. There's so many different ways that different things that you might be able to purchase, expensive and non, to allow somebody to continue to move without falling out of their chair or tipping it over, and I love discovering those as well. So how do we stay in touch in between? Well, we have a blog that needs a little bit of work, mostly because I get overwhelmed and forget to ask for help. But I have sworn to the Snails group that we'll take care of this summer because so many people want to contribute, and my disorganization is holding them back. So we're going to take care of that. But you can visit us at snailsgroup.blogspot.com. We have a YouTube channel where we record many of the presentations. It's not high quality recording, but it's high quality information. So hopefully you'll listen. We have an email distribution list. It's usually just me sending out a reminder of our next meeting, and people can use that if they want to save one of those and reply all to everyone. And we started a Google group a couple years ago for a particular reason, task, and then I kind of forgot about it, so I'm going to try to get that going again. If you do go to our blog, you'll see a lot of professional development opportunities, and I hope to increase in our member stories, examples of library programs and services. You'll see our links to our videos and recaps or notes from our meetings, a list of member libraries, and some of the things that they're doing there, and then our meeting dates and topics. Don't look for a new date right now because we just finished the school year, so we don't have new dates up yet. And then we have a list of resources. This is our YouTube channel. So you'll see the last video that I put up was from Access MSI, that's Museum of Science and Institute. Did I just say that? The Museum of Science and Industry. Abigail Diaz is amazing. If you want 1 or 20 ideas to immediately do for children that you serve, just watch that. Just watch a part of it. You'll be floored. Unfortunately, she moved to Wisconsin, but she's amazing. So what have been the outcomes of Snails? Well, it's our 5th anniversary year, so I think it's time to both reevaluate and do something really big. In the meantime, we took a survey in January of 2017 and just wanted to share some of these outcomes with you. 100%, as a result of participating in Snails, 100% of people have learned, 93% have tried something new, 89% are more confident in serving people with disabilities, 74% have made connections, new connections with community members, 93% have shared something they've learned from Snails, and 67% have gained new work opportunities or moved upward in their career. So I'm loving this facilitation. I'm a connector, I like to put things together and then kind of just watch it happen. So I had mentioned that I hope to make some improvements. After all, it's been 5 years, it's about time, to really get that structure. Even if we don't have a president, president, treasurer, and secretary, we should at least have new facilitators and maybe committees and teams to work on things that we need. A blog management, we could use a style guide so more people can blog right away, and a schedule. And then we're thinking of applying for a grant from Reaching Across Illinois Library Systems for like a one-day conference. And then also I think it's time to reevaluate our mission statement. Because as I mentioned about universal design, and also we use the word inclusive in our title, special needs and inclusive library services. Renee and I were thinking the special needs programs are like that targeted program for the families who want to step into a smaller program, but the inclusive is like, how do we make all of our programs more inclusive, universally designed? But now I'm thinking inclusive is more of like the equity, diversity, inclusion, inclusive. And so thinking about different types of inclusion and talking with our group about do they want to expand what we mean by inclusivity. So in closing, make nails even better by joining our community. You can follow our blog, come to a meeting, or join the Google group. I have to leave right after this presentation, but I will share with Suzanne the link to the Google group if you want to find it. And then here's my contact information. I put 2 email addresses because like I said, there's a lot going on and I get overwhelmed, and so you might have to email me in 2 places and then I'll see it. That's a horrible confession. And so now I pass it off to Cathy.
Okay. I am Cathy Hoffman. I am from the Mokina Community Public Library. Last year, May of 2017, was my first experience of targeting autism. I was with my other colleague, Cathy, also, which could not come today. And we were both so moved with all the stories and what the libraries were doing that when we got back, we started immediately. The first thing we had done, before I even came, I had set up a small resource center in the front of the library, and it probably had maybe 6 books on it, and I had a special sticker made for it and stuff, just to see how it was going to start going before I came out here. So then I came out to Springfield, and like I said, I was very moved, and we really wanted to do whatever we could for our library. We are in the Lincoln Way area, which is Mokina, New Lenox, Frankfort, and Manhattan. And it's always been called the Lincoln Way area. So when I left here, I said, well, I don't really know how to get started on a sensory story time or what it means to have sensory programs brought into the library. So then I went online and I looked to see the libraries in my area, and Frankfort Library was already hosting a sensory story time. So I contacted that librarian, her name was Sandy, and I went out there to talk to her for about an hour, and she showed me all the sensory items that she had at her library that she had made or bought, and how she ran her programs. And so then I think 2 weeks later, she invited me to come to her sensory story time that she had on Saturdays. And I went there. She only had a few children, which was fine. As she said, if you help one child, that's all you need to help that day. So, you know, he was a cute little boy, and Mom didn't mind I was there. And lo and behold, the librarian from Manhattan also had contacted Sandy. Her name was Kelsey. And so she was there to watch and evaluate and see what was working for them. So when the parents had left, we decided as a group that Sandy was doing the first week of a Saturday for sensory story time. And I agreed I would do it the second, and then Manhattan said they would do it the third. So we tried to let all our parents know that there's programming going on at least 3 weeks of the month, which gets kind of, I think it's kind of helpful. I think some of the parents do come, sometimes they have other things going on. But, so that's what I first started to do that. And then I contacted Mary Pellish, and she came to our library, and she took a tour. That's the second thing I did. And she evaluated what we could and couldn't do, or what we should, to bring, autism awareness to our library. I don't usually speak, so I'm a little nervous. And so she came out and gave us a lot of great ideas, and then we revamped the resource center a little bit more, and I ordered some items. I think I have a couple of pictures. Do I have any? Do I got the clicker? Okay. So this is, I think, okay. So this is my first, too far. No, it's really too far. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so when I first started, I had a tiny little metal cabinet, and so, what happened? I don't know. It is, okay. Well, maybe because I'm touching. Yeah, maybe not, huh? Okay, so one of the guys at the library who helps me out with a lot of my different flyers, and we have a poster making machine at our library, which we're very lucky to have, and he made us this poster, and below it they ordered me a new bookshelf. So all my books that I do carry there have a autism sticker on the spine, and our autism welcome here is a apple like a green apple, but it has the puzzle pieces. So I have it on all of our special books. I have a poster, a small poster in the front door, and I also have one. We have 4 study rooms at our library. I have one study room has been changed to be an autism-friendly study room. That also has it on the window. So that's like my little cubby I made. One of the guys at work, we ordered the walls. They're like partition walls, they come away, but ours is connected. And I ordered a rug, and I ordered a little rocking chair and a beanbag. And so this is like our pull-down cubby room. And we do get kids using it. The first time we had it up was in October. And I also work the front desk. A dad came after we have a music program. Usually every Saturday there's some kind of a music program for adults, or anybody can come, but mostly we get our seniors on Saturdays at 1 o'clock. And they came, the dad who comes here all the time, came up to the desk and said, and he has 2 sons on the spectrum, and he said, he touched my hand and said, "I'm so glad you did that, because now my son has somewhere where he feels he's welcome to the library." Not that we not always let everybody feel welcome. We're not a library that, you have to shush or anything like that, but the dad was just like, my son finally has somewhere he can just sit down and relax. So, and he felt that he needed to tell us, and it had only been up for 5 minutes, and he was already in it. So, which to me made a big